Hey everybody, this is Rustin Rose with Metalholic Magazine and Metal Nation Radio, and joining us today, Clare Cunningham of Thundermother, all the way from Sweden. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so excited. Congratulations. Road Fever, your sophomore album, came out yesterday, I believe it was. Great record.
Yeah.
You guys have to be really excited.
Oh, super excited. Literally, we had the first album and it was great, but we were really, really looking forward to this record because, we've grown a lot and this time it can actually be released worldwide. So we're so grateful that everybody can hear it, especially the people in the States as well. So it's really, really good.
Absolutely. So, well, I want to talk about the new album in just a minute, but as you said, the first album only came out overseas in Europe, Sweden and whatnot. We didn't really get it over here in America. So there's a lot of people that don't know much about the band yet. So can you give us a little backstory on the band and how it all came together? I believe Philippa, she started the band but tracked you down through YouTube, I think is the story.
Yeah, you've got it correct. So basically, there's 5 girls. 3 are from Sweden. That's Philippa, Linda, and Tilda. And then 1 is from Italy. That's Georgia. And then there's myself, and I'm Irish descent originally. And Georgia and Philippa hooked up, I think it was at a party maybe 5 years ago. Basically, Philippa had the idea of putting together Thundermother, but hadn't kind of found the right people and went through a few lineup changes. So herself and Georgia joined forces. And it was so funny because Georgia was going to sell her guitar that day, or the next day. And Philippa said, no, let's go, let's jam, let's try it out. They did, and it was really, really good. So they had gone through a few different lineup changes since 2010. And then myself, Linda and Tilda joined in 2013. I was living at the UK and I had this voicemail from a Swedish girl saying that she'd seen me on YouTube. They had a festival coming up in a couple of weeks and that they would love for me to sing. So my obviously reaction was a bit, this is a bit strange. And I was working full time as a musician myself, so I didn't really have the time to just kind of up and go. So the next day, luckily, she had called me again and we had a little chat. And it wasn't until she said, well, if you're interested, in 3 weeks, we're going to fly you out. And the festival is Metal Town Festival opening from Motorhead. So I was like, oh, okay, this is a bit bigger and better than I actually first assumed. So I grabbed my pen, wrote down some dates, checked the girls out, and the rest is history. Basically, flew out, met the girls the day before, had one rehearsal, and then we just hit the stage, and it was fantastic. It was just, the girls are fantastic. They were all best of friends, and it just really worked, which is strange because, you put 5 strangers together and, you hope for the best. So it worked, luckily.
Yeah, chemistry is important above all else, almost. But so now let's talk about the new record here. We'll start with the fact that you guys used a pledge campaign to sort of fund the new record, and you hit your goal. That had to be a little nerve-wracking and exciting. How was that whole experience?
So that was totally new to us. We we'd heard about it, but never really looked into it in such detail. Then we kind of thought, right, let's just go for it. So we had a meeting with the main girl here in the Swedish office side, and she explained a little more and what was involved. So the biggest thing with pledges, you have to have your own goals. So there's if you don't earn the amount that you think you're going to earn, it's kind of like you end up paying. So we had to be very careful because it was our first time. We thought, right, we'll go a little bit lower,
right,
and hopefully reach the goal. We reached the goal so much faster than we thought we would. People were just absolutely amazing. So, we said shame maybe we hadn't gone for a bit more, but the way it worked out worked really, really good. And then, we reached 100% and more. So people all over the world bought, signed CDs, pre-orders, the vinyl, like signed posters, the jacket that was worn in the music video, just drum skin as well of Tilda's, things that you couldn't get maybe on a normal day-to-day basis. So people did pay a little bit extra for those, but it really helped because, we raised the funds and more. So it was really, really awesome.
Well, and it's so great to see, if you give them the opportunity, it's so great to see fans supporting the music and buying the music instead of just stealing it and illegally downloading it. And this crowdfunding thing seems to be showing that there are still those fans out there who are willing to do all of that. And it's great for the bands. And I think one of the reasons it works so well for you guys is you guys are bringing back a resurgence of that classic rock and roll sound that we all love, which is just resonates on Road Fever, your sophomore record. Tell us about Road Fever from your perspective.
Yeah, sure. First and foremost, it's a bigger record. We went a little, veered off the absolute classic sound and went for a more punchier, heavier kind of Motorhead feel, which, for us, like, it was nice because we do get the AC/DC comparison, like, a lot. So this record, I think, we wanted to reach out to maybe a few more different kind of fans. And I think our AC/DC, fans and original fans still love it because it still has a classic feel. But it just has that, raw, more raw kind of real rock and roll twist to it. So there's got a few different numbers as well. Like, you got a bit of old school blues rock as well with Thunder Machine, and we kept one track there, Vagabond, your kind of classic rock ballad. So there's a little bit of everything for everybody. I think it does. A lot of our fans, especially me coming from Ireland, and I wouldn't have a lot of friends and family who would be massive rock, but yet still love Thundermother. So that's the beauty of us. You don't have to be the biggest massive rock metal fan to actually enjoy what we do. I think there's a bit of something there for everybody, I think.
Yeah, well, and your overall sound has a very fun, feel-good, uplifting sort of tint to it, and I think everybody can relate to that. So
yeah,
now,
good old classic rock.
Yeah, and that made Road Fever sort of a continuation of Rock and Roll Disaster, but also a little bit of a progression, which was exactly what you want to hear. So now you guys had years to write Rock and Roll Disaster, and some of the stuff was written before Thundermother was even the lineup it is now, as you said. You only had a year or so to write Road Fever. Are all of these songs brand new, or did you dip into the past catalog for some of these tracks as well?
It's so funny you should say that, because we really didn't have a year. We honestly, like, the way it worked out, we didn't have like any time between the tours and the shows and everything that we were doing. We actually had planned a release kind of, later than this one, but we were kind of thinking, right, I think we need to go for it. That we switched labels, and they were like, right, we want to get a record out. It needs to be done by kind of, May, in order to get it out, get all the press done over the summer. So we kind of had a bit of a rush with this one. But the main foundations had kind of been laid down. Philippa had kind of all of the music written, really, presented it to us like she does at a demo level. And then we kind of got together for a couple of rehearsals. That's basically all we had. And then kind of lyrically, half the songs were kind of written, half weren't. So she gave me the opportunity to, go away, come up with some stuff. And for instance, Rock and Roll Sisterhood, the last track on the album, is actually written by all of us. And the night before, we weren't really happy with what we had originally done. So the night before we had been in the studio, we went for a quick drink, put down some ideas, and the next day, as we were going into the studio to record it, we were literally writing like minutes before we were going in. So there's a lot of rushed, vibe on our behalf, but I don't think anybody, maybe, hopefully, can hear it in the record. But I think it kind of worked to our advantage because a lot of bands, if you take too long to record an album, you kind of analyze songs, and then, you're hearing things that you probably wouldn't hear normally. So we kind of went in with a quick kind of vibe to it because we had a bit of problems with the record studios. We had originally booked one, it got cancelled, so it was very much a quick, we gotta do this. So, but it worked. I think, like, we work under pressure. That's all we've really known, because two of the girls, Linda and Georgia, they live in Gothenburg, which is like 4 hours away from Stockholm. So as a band, we never really get together. It's kind of finding the time to do as much as we can when we were playing shows or touring. So considering the lack of time we had, I think it turned out to be pretty okay.
Well, and Philippa obviously does most of the primary songwriting and everything, but you guys got a chance to get out of Sweden last year and do more of a real tour, the UK, Europe, and such.
Yeah.
Did that experience sort of spark any creativity for the songwriting for this record?
I think so, because the actual name itself of the record, Road Fever, it's just about love and life on the road. And we did a bit, obviously, with the first record, but we really did manage to get out and just see a lot more and experience more. So, yeah, it does help with the lyrics, example like Vagabond, and all about living a vagabond kind of lifestyle. We've all done it, we've been there, going, sleeping on friends' couches, and just the struggles of rock and roll, but also kind of, because we're more of a close-knit now, the Rock and Roll Sisterhood, that's a great song because it's basically, about us 5 females and females in general around the world, just having fun doing the rock and roll, Roadkill itself is actually, well, as you can guess, about roadkill. So we see a lot of it on the road, so we thought, yeah, that'd be quite a cool little song. And if you notice when, I don't know, maybe you haven't the physical copy yet, but anybody who gets it, when you lift up the CD, there's a little, our little mascot, as we call him, our little roadkill is there drinking a beer. So we've kind of had a bit of fun with that. So
I'm going to have to get a physical copy now, because all I have is the digital so far. But
okay, yeah, no, I think most of the guys at the minute just have the digital. So yeah, if you can get a copy of the actual physical, it's quite funny.
Well, we can't talk about all the songs on the record. Obviously, we don't have that much time. But obviously, you said there's a nod towards Motorhead with this album a little bit. You obviously got to play with them and everything. Deal with the Devil has that Lemmy sort of nod to it. Was that sort of an intentional thing, or?
Most definitely, yes. Philippa, she and like us all, we're big fans of Motorhead. But there's actually, if you ever see us live doing the first record, we have this medley, a riff medley, and it includes actually Deal with the Devil. So it was already written musically, and it was just an ode to Motorhead in the middle of our shows. So it would always make me smile, because I used to go off the stage for this part, and I absolutely loved it. And I had said to Philippa, I think this would make a fantastic song if we put it together, and she was thinking the exact same. So she put it together and wrote Deal with the Devil, and basically it's a pure ode to just Motorhead. They've just been awarded 40 years serving rock and roll, and the lads, they're great and big supporters of Thundermother as well. So we thought it'd be a nice little tribute to them,
Yeah, it's kind of sad, and because they're over here in the States right now doing their tour, and they've had to cancel a lot of shows because of Lemmy's health, and it's almost, as a big fan of Lemmy and the band, I almost want to say, brother, it's time to retire from the road, because we want to keep you around as long as we can,
I know. it's one of those things, you know, and I think it's just, you never want to give up, do you? And I think, you know, I think he could actually safely retire and be a very happy man knowing that he served, you know, so many great years of rock and roll. And I think a lot of people would obviously be very sad, but, you know, they've given so much to the rock industry and metal industry that, you know, I think, yeah, like I said, they could retire very happy men, I think.
All right, now a couple of my favorite tracks on the record are Fight Fire with Fire and Enemy. Can you tell us a little bit about those two?
Yeah, Fight Fire with Fire is it was written actually by Philippa. So I think she had it quite a while. And it's just basically about kind of kicking out the old and in with the new. And that could be a few different things, but I think it's pretty much maybe about the different lineups that she's been through with Thundermother.
Right.
So like Old Blood, Kick You Out, you know, that kind of thing. So it's fighting fire with fire. Obviously, she's had a few tough years down through the years, you know, with different members and just it not working. And she had a vision and, you know, and it is tough, you know. I think she's amazing in the sense that she just kept going, you know, because a lot of people get disheartened when, you know, people leave or the chemistry isn't right, you know, et cetera, but she really just stuck at it. And, you know, and especially like even thinking back to when she took me on board, and I just think, wow, she had full faith, you know, never heard me sing live, kind of had 3 weeks, was hoping that I would just fly in and be there. So she had a lot of faith, but she said, no, I just trusted. So it's a lot to do with, it was rolled in with the new kind of thing and just, yeah. Right. And in general life, you know, there is a lot of fighting fire. Enemy, I'm not sure if she wrote it initially, and like I've written one of the verses as well. It can be taken as any way you want it, but there might be one particular person I think she might have been writing it about, but everybody, you know, has one of them. So I think everybody can kind of relate in the respect, because initially somebody had said, maybe you should do it as a male, you know, but I disagreed then, because I said, well, no, because then it's going to look like it's a love song. It's quite clearly, you know, us girls, we have issues with other girls sometimes. So, you know, it's basically just a bit of an enemy song. You know, there's always going to be a feuds and different things in people's lives. So it was half written. So I just pulled on some of my own experiences to help write the rest, and it worked actually as a final song then.
Nice. So a few more questions before we get out of here. Now, you being the vocalist, when you were developing your voice and your style, were there certain singers that you sort of emulated or drew inspiration from? People ask this a lot, and I think they're very surprised to hear that most of my roots and growing up was obviously Irish folk and country. I'm a big country blues rock fan, and you know, there's so many artists I just have a love for, but the classic rock was always something. Like my father obviously listened to a lot of T-Rex, Clearwater Revival, AC/DC. Right. So I grew up with that also. So I wasn't always lacking in the rock and roll, but you know, Irish bands such as the Cranberries, Thin Lizzy, you know, and then I always loved a bit of Janis Joplin and all the old school artists. So I actually, there was never one style I kind of just listened or sang. It was always, I have a big love for a wide range of music, but I suppose if my heart's going to lie anywhere, it's more within the country field, country rock and blues. So, you know, I don't really particularly have just one artist that I have always aspired to, but you know, AC/DC, it's pure rock and roll, and the love for it, you know. And that's another thing, because in Ireland, like, it wouldn't be a massive rock scene, but there's enough that, in the sense that, you know, even non-rockers and non-musicians, of course, they love AC/DC. So it was just the love for that really growing up, I think, did develop my kind of rock vocal, I suppose. Yeah, for sure. I've always sort of said that AC/DC is the greatest rock and roll band of all time, not necessarily because they're everybody's favorite or they're the best, but because they are that one universal band that even people who don't listen to rock and metal all get into. So they appeal to the widest draw of people.
Exactly. And it's exactly what I said there, you know, like, again, coming from a country that isn't really big on rock, you know, everybody knows and loves AC/DC, basically. So, yeah.
To find out a little bit more about you before we get out of here, what sort of brought you to where you're at today? Were there, like, I don't know, moments or maybe 2 or 3 albums that were sort of mileposts that drove you in the direction to bring you to where you're at today?
Yeah, like, again, growing up, like, one of my first records was actually Alanis Morissette, would you believe? Jagged Little Pill, you know?
Yeah.
I grew up listening to her, and then there was a bit of chart music here and there, but I was always, you know, out of all the friends and stuff, I always did love the rock scene as well as everything else. So I think what really got me into the whole rock thing was I studied music for a couple of years in Dublin, and then I moved over to London, where I got my Bachelor of Arts on his degree in music, and it was there that I joined forces with a guitarist, and we kind of set up this 80s classic covers rock band. So I think that really lent a lot of, you know, knowledge, and I got into the rock a lot more by doing that. So we were doing, like, you know, Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, Billy Idol.
Right.
And I have actually that band to thank, Smoking Aces they were called, because myself and Jamie, the guitarist, we had put up, I think it was like 39 acoustic videos, just all the stuff we did, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Led Zeppelin. And it was that video of doing AC/DC, Highway to Hell, that actually was what Philippa had found. So, you know, I have them personally to thank for my career right now, because I literally had put them up maybe a month and a half before she contacted me. So, I just think having gotten into the kind of 80s classic kind of covers band and having that as my living really got me to where I am now. It really did, you know.
Nice. So now you guys are getting ready to go out and do the Rebels of Scandinavia thing with Supercharger. What's on tap after that?
Yeah, we're heading off on Monday. It's with Supercharger, and there's another band as well here in Sweden called Scams, and they're playing with us as well. So that's going to last for just under 2 weeks. We come back, and then we've got maybe a week here in Sweden, and then we're heading off to Spain. We love Spain. We did Spain last year and got such a great response that we really had to come back this year when the record was out. So we will head to Spain for just under 2 weeks as well. I think it's like 11 or 12 nights. So that's in the pipeline. And then we have a boat, rock classic. It's quite a big thing here in Sweden. So we're going to be doing some radio stuff there. Just continuing to promote the album, but as far as tours go, for the rest of the year, that's going to be it until we hit next year, and we're going to hit it real hard, I think. And hopefully, you know, we really want to get over to the States. Like, it's just a pure love of all of us to get over there. So once the right tour or right support slot comes up, maybe, then we got to hit you guys, because
we would love to get you over here.
Yeah,
that would be very exciting. So, the last question before we get out of here, of course, is there going to be any videos from the album? I know they're almost, in some cases, a waste of time these days, but we still want to see them, you know?
Yeah. Well, we did one for the single, It's Just a Tease, and we definitely will, or hope to at least, do one for Rock and Roll Sisterhood. We actually were in talks with somebody about it, and it kind of just, timing-wise, just didn't suit, unfortunately. But I think that's definitely going to be in the pipeline for sure. Just because, it's just a great little number, and I think we can show exactly what we mean by sisters sticking together and just showing what we do out on the road and how we love it, and just inspire all the other females out there. It's a tough industry, it's very male dominated, and, you get a lot of slack sometimes for it, and people, don't respect all so much. I think we're getting there. It's 2015, so, we still have a bit to go, but,
yeah,
the plan is to do it, so.
Well, that's always that fine line that you're walking, especially when you're talking about women in hard rock and metal, is they don't, it's like you don't want to talk about the fact that they're women. But with all the women that we do have in hard rock and metal now, it still represents less than 2% of the hard rock and metal scene. There's still a lot of recognition and stuff to happen. So
there is, yeah.
Perfect. Clare, Thundermother, the new album, Road Fever, out now. We are so excited about it. We're going to spin some of it right here. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Hey, listen, thank you guys for the support. It really means the world. And hopefully we'll get out to you guys next year if we can. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Awesome. Take care, Clare.
You too. Have a great evening.